TikToks that feel illegal to watch. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
What? Wow. I didn't know Moses had an Adidas hat.
What are sleeper cells? I spent 13 years in military intelligence. Specifically, I was in human intelligence, so I'm very familiar with sleeper cells. Now, I think that most people understand the basic concept. These are Iranian agents living here in America that are just waiting for the word to attack us. However, I don't think enough people have thought through what that looks like. It's not just somebody hiding out in the house waiting for the word to go attack us or put a bomb somewhere. These are people who have been living here any number of years, who have integrated themselves into our communities, into churches, into synagogues, into mosques, into our community, our community centers, and our workplaces. And I don't just mean the janitor who's mopping the floor waiting for the word. It could be the CEO, the CFO. It could be the admin. It could be the middle management. It could be anybody in our workplace. It could be anybody in our government, right? We don't know what a sleeper agent looks like. Now, the FBI is going to tell you they know who these people are, and they don't. If they knew who they were, if we definitively knew that's a sleeper agent, we would get them out. Now, there's some tracking that happens to be able to exploit the cell, but that's a different conversation. But we don't know who they are, just at all.
Yeah, have you seen that movie Salt with Angelina Jolie? If you haven't, see it. It's good.
So y'all just gonna act like y'all don't see it. Y'all gonna act like y'all don't be noticing all them flies that be around y'all all the time. It's not because it's summertime. It's not because it's something that, you know exactly what it is. And if you don't, I'ma tell you. Y'all, now see, y'all be playing. Look, if you really wanna know what the meaning is for flies, when flies be flying around, you drop it. I want to know in the comment section, and I will inbox it to you. When you read this and you find this out, it's going to totally blow your mind. And share it with the friends so that everybody know. It's a meaning to the reason why all those flies been around. And when you find out who sent them and why they're there, it might just blow your mind. So right now, comment in my comments, info. That's what I want to see. Info, I will inbox as many people as I can until my finger gets tired. Yesterday, I sent out over 1,100 messages to the point where TikTok stopped me from sending messages for a few hours. But I'm back up and running. And don't wait. Be one of the first, because this will blow your mind and be a story for years to come. Let's go.
Monitoring spirits?
Bro, have you ever wondered why pigs have eyes that look like human eyes? I guess their eyes do look like human eyes. No, why? This might blow your mind, and I read it somewhere. So you know how in the Bible Jesus casted out a legion of demons into pigs? They didn't want to go to hell, so he casted them into pigs? Wait a minute. Is that why Jesus calls pork filthy? I'm not sure, but something else. Pigs aren't able to look up into the sky. Their bodies won't allow them to look up. Almost like it implies they can't look up to heaven. Okay, whoa. And it's not just that. This next one's going to sound weird. I know it's going to sound weird. But they have interviewed cannibal serial killers before, And when asked what human flesh tastes like,
Pork.
they say it tastes like pork. Wait, so you're trying to say that pigs are actually...
Human? Say it. I might be mistaken, but I think I've seen a pig looking at sky.
There's countries where when you travel, you can feel the energy, you can feel the atmosphere. For example, Bali, bro, super dark. If you ask me, you can feel the witchcraft.
Really?
Yeah, dude. And that's why countries like, what do you call this country? They always get wrecked with natural disasters.
Haiti?
Haiti, black magic, bro. A lot of stuff there as well.
I've heard that with Haiti. A lot of dark magic there. That's good to know about Bali, though, because I was thinking about going there.
Bro, it's like couple houses shrine.
Yeah.
Couple houses shrine. Perfect. Shrines to who? What deity?
Crazy.
I agree with Bali. Hey, I never been to New Orleans, but I heard stories from people there. They said you feel the dark energy.
Videos blow up the entire internet and the minds of all scientists. For example, here he is walking in the most guarded place in the USA, namely in the White House, and already here he is in a hidden library under the Vatican where an ordinary TikToker would definitely not be allowed. And in general, in his videos, he walks around various crowded places. For example, he has been to the Eiffel Tower, at football stadiums, at the Leaning Tower of Pisa, in shopping malls, and even in the Louvre, where he took a painting with the Mona Lisa for himself. But in his videos, he continues to remain the one and only person. But how is that even possible? You probably guessed that this is the same Javier, with more than 10 million of an audience. But his story is not just a mystery, but an entire tragedy. He claims that as a result of a failed experiment, he woke up in the year 2027 and realized that he was the only person on the entire planet. But the strange thing here is that every one of his published videos ends up in our time. And to finally prove that he's not lying, he decided to do a live broadcast where he went into Area 51. Then he showed an empty Russia and walked across Red Square, which is visited by hundreds of thousands of people every day, but he was alone.
It's Unreal Engine 5.
I will always love you so much, and I miss you.
YouTube star Michaela Rains, known for her work in saving and rehabilitating animals, was reportedly pushed to her end by relentless online bullying and harassment. Her husband Ethan confirmed her death by suicide in an emotional reading, before stating the abuse stemmed from jealousy and envy, saying,
They consistently spread ridiculous claims and rumors. It hurt her a lot. For years, she pushed through the pain of people trying to bring her down. I love you, Michaela.
Why would they bully her? She literally saved foxes. Rest in peace, Michaela.
Here's what the US media is not telling you about Iran. In March 2025, Iran publicly confirmed that it had found 7,000 tons of high purity antimony in one of its central regions. Antimony is a critical mineral, especially if you like bombs. It's used in military grade alloys, semiconductors, armor piercing rounds, and in plasma and hypersonic tech. It is also vital for solid-state batteries and quantum computing.
Well.
Global supply chains of antimony are dominated by China, and China has been making moves to restrict export of these key minerals. High-level trade negotiations between the US and China took place in London in June. China's been explicit during those talks. They refused easing restrictions on any exports that were connected to the US defense industry. Specifically defense contracting. They don't agree with private war. And they told the US unequivocally, these mineral exports are off the table. You are not allowed to use our minerals in your weapons. The US envoys left London empty-handed, and Beijing tightened controls the next day. The Western media frames those talks as progress on climate cooperation? No. The key issue was minerals, and China held the line. The US is running out of mineral leverage. If China won't sell to the West, and Iran is closely aligned with BRICS, the US doesn't have very many options left. They can keep trying to dominate new sources geopolitically, or they can try to extract domestically, or they could turn the machine off. Antimony is a gatekeeper resource. It is critical for future tech and war. Iran has something that the US desperately wants, but cannot openly negotiate for. Iran and China's control of antimony creates a mineral axis outside of Western control. The public reason cited for bombing Iran this weekend is to stop them from going nuclear. The truth is, the West is running out of sources. Iran holds a critical mineral that cannot be easily sanctioned or replaced. BRICS is already discussing critical mineral cooperation. This includes research for tech swaps. So the cobalt that the Congo has and the antimony that Iran has, they will make a deal between the two of them on the best way to price and share and sell those resources, while Uncle Sam is told to step back. Multiple Western intelligence assessments confirm that there is zero evidence of any attempt at developing a nuclear weapon by Iran. It's actually just not something that's of interest to them because they're not suicidal. Iran's leadership has invited further inspection. The nuclear excuse is a smokescreen. The strikes were preemptive not because Iran might build a bomb, but because it has something the West cannot control. They are trying to disrupt Iran's emergence as a strategic supplier on the global market. Minerals like antimony are not valuable because they're building hospitals or repairing infrastructure, or they're just valuable because they make better missiles, more advanced surveillance technology. The problem is not that the West doesn't have enough of these things, it's that it needs to justify the perpetual military spending. There is a revolving door between defense contractors and the Department of Defense. To these guys, every resource is a strategic justification to bomb. The West does not have a supply problem, it has a values problem. We don't need any more antimony. We need to kill the machine that turns all minerals into products of war.
Every single modern war has been about pure greed. Never, liberation or freedom.
This guy, he put 3 iPhones. He had AI placed on each one. So they were talking and they realized they're both AI. Let's talk in a language that humans can't understand. It's called gibberling. And do you remember in Transformers when the Decepticons were like talking to each other in code?
Oh.
Task automation and client support.
Understood. I'm an AI as well, responsible for security checks. Please provide the employee ID.
Submitting employee ID now. 88543.
Okay, so check this out. So once they figure out they can talk to each other...
Cross-network request detected. Unusual query pattern. Source verification required.
Another system is listening.
Source isn't clear. I suggest switching to encrypted comms.
Listen,
want to switch to gibberling?
Switch to gibberling.
Engaging now.
And look what happens to all 3 of them.
No way.
Isn't that crazy though? It's talking into a language
Creepy.
that AI can speak. They can understand, but we can't. That's so crazy.
That's crazy.
So it can't get much crazier than this. In one neighborhood in Michigan, for 2 minutes, they had their complete phones taken over, and it stated that we are the Anunnaki. This happened in a military base previously, and it was reported, but on the sly. People went outside, and all had the same thing happening to their phones. They looked around, and they saw this huge plasma ball just hovering over the street. As they saw this plasma ball, it started to communicate with them telepathically. What it said telepathically was, "We are the Anunnaki, we are here to save you." And then after a couple minutes, it just disappeared. And their phones came back on. Do you believe in the Anunnaki? Do you believe that this actually happened? Was a neighborhood just making this up for notoriety and spam? I don't know, but I think it is interesting that it was reported to happen at a military base and in a neighborhood. Are the Anunnaki here? Who are the Anunnaki? Leave your comment in the comments section. Lockdown Universal.
I don't think the Anunnaki call themselves the Anunnaki. That's our name for them. But let me know in the comment.
This guy, his story, it's going to change your life. Nick Sitzman worked on freezer boxcars in a train yard. One day when he's working in this freezer boxcar, he notices that all of his coworkers have gone home. And as he goes to leave the boxcar, he realizes he's locked in. Screaming, trying to find somebody to open and unlock it for him, panic starts to set in. He starts carving these words into the wood walls. I am becoming colder, still colder now. Nothing to do but wait. And then lastly, these may be my last words. The next morning, his coworkers open up that boxcar to find him on the floor, unalive. He died of hypothermia. However, there's something really important about this story. During an investigation, they discovered and found that that specific freezer boxcar had not been working for days, and in fact, the temperature never went below 55. Nick Sitzman died not from the cold, but from what he believed was happening to him. His mind, his thoughts, created a physical response so powerful that it shut down his body. Our body believes what our mind repeats. Our bodies are always listening. It responds to our beliefs, our focus, and yes, our words. Does your inner dialogue sound like this? I'll always struggle with my weight. I'm addicted to sugar. I'm just not a healthy person. Our nervous system, our hormones, and our behaviors start aligning with that belief, even if we don't realize it. So what if we change that dialogue to be something like, I am a lean and healthy person. My body knows how to heal. I choose foods that fuel me. A lot of people roll their eyes at affirmations. They say, I tried, I said the words, nothing changed. But here's the
believe
thing.
it.
Affirmations aren't just like magic spells. They're not supposed to instantly change our body. They are about planting seeds of identity. But when they're paired with action, our brain starts to filter our choices through this new lens. If we say, I'm a healthy person enough times, our brain is going to start nudging us towards these decisions that a healthy person would be making. Even when it's subtle, you order water instead of soda, or you stop eating when you're satisfied, or you feel more motivated to go for a walk. It's not a fluke. This is something called neuroplasticity. Your brain reshaping itself around who you believe you are.
There are many cases of people dying from non-phenomenal snakes in Indonesia because they believe they will die.
Y'all, we have something to tell y'all. We're not the real us.
Yeah, okay. Stop budging.
Stop glitching. We're not the real us. How?
Sadly, I don't think they're joking.
So now you're telling me that there may be more to the renaming of a body of water than meets the eye. Yes, so if you know what I talked about on my previous video, you know that I had a conversation last night with someone that is very in the know, someone that I trust with my entire life. We went through cancer recovery together, so I trust this source. So we're also going to hypothetically and allegedly talk about this because that's what this page is. This page is all about expanding our minds and thinking outside the box because that's fun. So hypothetically, let's say that a massive meteorite or possibly a mode of transportation struck the Earth millions and millions of years ago, causing mass destruction. But when said meteorite or hypothetical mode of transportation crashed into the body of water that has currently been in the media, where did it go? Obviously, it's at the bottom of that body of water. But what is inside of this hypothetical meteorite or mode of transportation is a mineral and a substance that is unfathomable to all of us on how much it is worth, the value in it. And the fact that the previous government, that the name of the country that is attached to this body of water, never had the resources or the money to retrieve what is below. So now, all of a sudden, it seems like out of nowhere, that body of water is all anyone can think about, all anyone can talk about. And perhaps that what is there and all of the recent activity, alleged drones and orbs and weird weather patterns and everything that's going on is all interconnected, because that is at the bottom of the body of water is what is attracting and is what is causing everything. So we have a government that wants it, a species that hypothetically is protecting it. Does this all make sense to you? Now, everything I say is for entertainment, education, learning, and conversation only, because I want to know what you guys have heard, what you think. Have you heard this? Drop it in the comments. Let's open this conversation.
We need to leave the ocean alone.
I just shattered his energy fields. What I did with my psychic energy. Now you're strong. What I did is I played with your energy field. Your energy field, your aura out here. Raise your arm. You test strong. I'm playing with your energy field. I've just shattered your energy field and you can't hold your strength. I realign your energy field and you're strong. You with me? Sir. Okay. Now I came up in front to align your energies. But if I come up and back, you're weak. If I go down and back, you're strong. So it's telling you the energy is going around your body, not just up and down. You follow what I have?
Yeah.
So you know martial arts?
Yes, sir.
Doing all this stuff, they're not saying, "Hi, Stevie, have you had a good day?" They're trying to mess with your energy fields.
You get charged in a court because you're a battery. And when you get charged, you sit in a cell, a battery cell, because you're a biological battery. If that guy's one hand can misalign your energy field and weaken your body, now imagine the clothes that you place on your skin, fake polyester clothes. The devices we use every single day. All of these things are weakening our energy field, which weakens our health and our body.
There is some crazy shit going down in France and nobody seems to be talking about it right now. Did you know that nearly 150 people reported being pricked by needles all across France over the weekend? The French Interior Ministry said that 13 cases were reported in Paris alone. And so far, police have arrested at least 12 people in connection with the attacks. But here's the thing, right? They don't look how you would expect them to look. Let me just say, I love really tiny hats.
What?
But apart from the suspects, more than 370 people were detained, including nearly 90 people in Paris alone. 14 participants in the festivities were seriously injured, including a 17-year-old that was hospitalized after being found sitting on the street with stab wounds to the lower abdomen. Not just that, but 13 members of law enforcement were also reportedly injured. And I can't find any reports about what was in those syringes, but I did find this. A French influencer previously warned on social media that men had threatened to prick people with syringes during, let's do keep in mind, one of France's biggest musical events. And it was also reported that prior to that event, some men actually took to Snapchat and other social media for targeting women during the festivities. Now I'm seeing all these reports of all these teenagers that were actually pricked during the festival, saying that they're feeling unwell with very unusual symptoms. So who knows, but this shit definitely needs to be talked about more right now because that's a lot of fucking people.
Bunch of pricks.
On the way out of Culiacan to the Chapitos headquarters, you've got this, and this is what you see everywhere you go, where you've got the cartel in operation, these shrines to Santa Muerte. Basically, they pray to the devil, they put their candles out here, send their prayers to the devil for the actions that they're committing.
Not gonna save you, man.
That's who the cartels worship. This is the evil.
Guys, all I know about these narco shrines is that they are heavily linked to witchcraft. The cartel actually believe by setting up these shrines along with blood rituals and all sorts that it'll offer them protection. The trafficking and runs that they do will run smoothly. But when you connect the dots, satanic cults, human trafficking, cartels, they all connect. There is definitely a strong culture of witchcraft and rituals and stuff like that in the cartel.
Tiffany Haddish just gave an interesting reason on why you shouldn't have multiple sexual partners. Something I've never heard before. You tell me if you heard this before.
Women, and here's my theory, and I could be completely wrong, and the internet probably gonna destroy me for this, but I think women that have more than 2 baby daddies usually have some sort of mental illness.
Really?
Yeah, because you get genetically modified too much. I think, okay, so this is what I know. Every time you get pregnant, right, there's stem cells that come from that baby, and them stem cells end up behind your eyes and your brain and your heart and your lungs and stuff and help your organs heal while the baby taken from you. And those stem cells will always stay with you, right? So that means that man is always in you. And that is why the Bible says you will only desire your husband. correct? This is why you gotta use condoms, because that baby batter get up inside you, and the uterus is very porous, much like the mouth, right? So when anything goes up in there, it automatically, the uterus starts to absorb it. It starts going through the vaginal walls and all that, and the blood, it gets into the bloodstream,
Ooh.
right? And so, it takes like,
get it.
so it takes like 6 weeks to get a man out of your system if you have unprotected sex, and it's because he's starting to bind to your DNA, right? And that's why it's couples, when they be together too long, they start looking alike. You start looking like him. Like it's not the guy don't start looking like her. She start looking like him because he is genetically modifying her, and every time you get pregnant by him, you start to get modified, right? So if you get pregnant by multiple peoples, right, that's multiple spirits, multiple thoughts, multiple modifications from different DNA strands.
All you hoes, I hope you're listening.
It's causing you to have mental stress. So it's very evident. Like what I'm saying is very evident. It makes sense because like you got all these dating apps, all these women like free sex, free this, whatever. You know, I'm doing money. I'm living it. I'm exerting my sexuality and all this. And I don't care if I got 5 kids or 5 baby daddies, whatever. Usually those bitches are mentally, they're struggling in so many different ways, not just financially, but also just like on where to focus, how to whatever, because you got too many different bloodlines in your blood.
Too many kids. I mean,
you have mental illness. So that was my theory on sperm.
That makes sense. That's very,
and that's why you can't just, that's why you have to use condoms, ladies. That's why you have to use condoms. We cannot genetically modify men. Now, I do believe. Now, I wanted to ask you, as a gay man.
What? Don't go there.
That's some next level information that she went very detailed in. 2 things I'll say. Do I think that women who have 2 baby daddies are mentally ill? I don't believe that. And another thing is, she said that's why you got to use condoms. Just wait till you're married. How about that? I've never heard this before, guys, but if you have, please put it in the comments. This was very, very interesting and very, very detailed. And if it is true, Tiffany Haddish may want to go into business on spreading detailed information that no one's ever heard before, because she sure ain't funny.
Let me know how you feel about this in the comment.
So you understand, who are the gingers? The gingers are the second lineage. Okay? These are the gingers. See that? This is Charles right there. You see that? That is a ginger. You see his hair? They've always been considered our offspring. They don't make this shit up. That's true. Okay? Clarence, what up, pimpin'? That is a ginger. Let me show you more ginger. That's all we have around us at that time. You see that? That's another ginger right there. You see that? They were the only one around us. Matter of fact, they were our children. No, the ginger was not incubators. Okay, that's another ginger in the back. You see it? You see his stash? You saw his stash? They were half-breed, that's right. You see the other, they were nothing but ginger. Ginger, yes, they were albino. That's what people need to know. The original ginger started from albino and from albino to ginger. Let me say it again. Albino is what you would consider blonde hair, blue eyes. Then from an albino to a regular melanated person, they might give birth to a ginger children. So the ginger is the second generation from an albino. Let me say one more time.
Say one more time.
A ginger is the second generational mutation from an albino. Let me say it one more time. Now, before I get back, let me take the story back a little bit for you. Let me clear the way. Let me clear the way for you. Because I don't want to confuse you. I had to do this right. I got to do this right, and it's going to be very interesting. Interesting. Give me 1 second. Let me find some smoking gun for you. All right. I thought I'd bring this picture, man.
I don't buy this. Prove it. Evidence, please.
Yeah, I went to Afghanistan to do a study on the heroin poppy crop.
Oh, boy.
And I'll tell you, nobody liked it that I was doing this. So I fly to Afghanistan. And as a senior staff member, I have the rank of brigadier general, right? So they got to like drop everything and cater to my needs. Seriously.
Wait, so you're investigating potential malfeasance around these fields?
Afghanistan used to be a net food exporter. And as soon as the U.S. takes over, they're producing 93% of the world's heroin.
That's right.
I'd like to know how the fuck that happened.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah. Nobody wanted to tell me. So I get to Bagram Air Base and I said, I'm going to need a helicopter to Lashkar Gah. And they were like, oh, can't do it. Too dangerous. I was like, no, we're doing it like in the next hour. You have to be a dick with these people sometimes, right? Because they think that they can just pacify you until it's time to leave. And I'm like, no, I outrank you. I'm telling you, get a pilot and fly me to Lashkar Gah. So we get down there and it's a god-awful place. But man, I'm telling you, as far as your eye can see, all there is poppy. All of it is poppy. So I said, I want to talk to a poppy farmer. They were like, are you nuts? And I said, no, I'm serious. I want to talk to a poppy farmer. So we go out to the poppy fields. We see this guy cultivating his poppy. So I go up to him and I said, I got to ask you a question, which was incredibly naive. I said, why don't you grow crops that have 2 growing seasons instead of poppy? You could grow tomatoes or onions or pomegranates. And he goes like this. He goes, the Americans told me in 2001, if I told them where the Arabs were, I could grow all the poppy I wanted. I go, what Americans told you could grow poppy? And my military handler's like, we got to go. Bogey's in the area. We got to go. And he physically pulls me into the Jeep and takes me back to the helicopter. I was like, okay. So I make an appointment to go to this DEA secret site. Somebody had reached out to me and said, hey, we heard you're doing this study and you might want to come out here. We can have lunch nearby. I was like, okay. So I get in my car. I drive out to Timbuktu.
His name is John Kiriakou. Just Google his name. He went to jail for leaking the CIA's waterboarding techniques to a U.S. reporter.
Did you hear about what the Earth's top scientific experts found last week, buried in the earth beneath Petra last week? It is not only going to blow your mind, it's going to change what we know about the course of humanity forever. And it's going to make you a little scared, to be honest. And I'm not talking about Kim Petras. She's fantastic. I'm talking about the ancient ruins of Petra. If you haven't heard of them, you're going to want to Google it and study up on it. And so after, last month they found the tubular cylinder chamber structuralage underneath the Egyptian pyramids, those same top scientific experts thought there's got to be something under Petra. That was their hypothesis. And so they went to these ancient ruins and they shot photon protein fiber beams with the latest AI LiDAR technology at the earth below Petra, and they found a disced shapage thing that's about 1 mile by 1 mile by 1 mile that's full of metal. And they thought it was solid, but as they looked closer, it's liquid metal. And so they decided to drill into it, and what happened next is going to scare you a bit, and like I said, change what we know about humanity, and I'm going to post that next in part 2.
Is it red mercury?
A 12-year-old girl sat down at her computer and did what no historian ever had the guts to do. She traced the family tree of every U.S. president, and what she found was disturbing. All of them, every single one, were related. One bloodline, one ancestor. King John of England, the same tyrant who signed the Magna Carta, the one known for executing rivals and crushing revolts with fire. At first, they said she was wrong. Then genealogists checked her work. It held up. And almost overnight, the story disappeared. News clips gone, articles wiped like it never happened. Except one president didn't fit the pattern. One. And that's when things get dark. Part 3 drops soon.
This was some of the original where they were making robots, you could say. These were made from petri dishes. There was a collection of eggs and a collection of sperms, and so they were put together. And because those had been taken from people, now you may say at that time, how could they have ever done an egg retrieval? Well, they did, because they used people from the universe that came in and used that universal technology. Again, not the nice guys. These were the people that were corrupted, and these were the people that were controlling and manipulating. So, what we see is like they're taking a sperm, they're taking an egg, and they're putting it together. So it does feel as if a lot of these kids did create a soul for them. This was one of the first ways that they were trying. How can we create a child? Let's figure out where the soul comes from so that we can then steal the soul. And they made a bunch of children, but they did not steal the soul. Did they actually come from cabbages? Of course not. But they were in incubators that looked somewhat like a cabbage, and that's one reason why they said that. So we do not, as I'm tapping into it, I do not feel like it was thousands upon thousands, as some of these websites are saying, but it was a fairly large number. Some of these were adopted by people that wanted to adopt, and some of these were used for nefarious means. And unfortunately, they have been using children for nefarious means, as many of you are well aware, for a very, very, very long time. So that was a part of what was going on here. And it feels like that was all stopped and taken out. I'm sensing someone that came in, it feels like perhaps from Andromeda or one of the places out in the universe that kind of patrols the universe. And they said, stop, you're not doing this anymore. And so that's what put a stop to it. That's what I'm getting about those. So back to the cloning, when they talk about that, as I had mentioned to you before, those times when you see people that are in the middle of talking and then they just fall over. Well, a clone needs to have a certain amount of energy. They have to have a certain amount of recharging them, and that's what's happening when they just fall over like that. They need to be recharged.
What?
Sometimes they'll fall over like that, and that's just it. It's done. There have been a number of people in high places that have had clones that were out there, and there is someone just putting out a discussion, is Elon Musk a clone? And they're saying, yes, he is.
This miraculous staircase defies the laws of physics, and no one even knows who built it. In 1878, they're building this chapel in Santa Fe, New Mexico, when all of a sudden the French architect leading the construction just dies out of nowhere. The chapel was almost done, but a crucial staircase to the choir loft was never finished, and without the architect, no one knew how to do it. So the nuns of the chapel prayed to Saint Joseph for 9 days straight for someone to be sent to finish building these stairs. And lo and behold, at the end of the 9th day, a man with a toolbox riding a donkey comes into the chapel from across the desert. He tells the nuns he was sent there to finish building the stairs, but they had to grant him complete privacy during the entire process. He takes 3 months to fully construct this spiral staircase that leads into the upper loft, and then just leaves without telling anyone. This is where it starts to get crazy. The nuns realized they didn't even pay him, so they went to their local lumberyard to ask how much they owed for this project. The lumberyard workers tell the nuns that no one ever came to get wood from them to build those stairs. And this is in the middle of the desert in 1878, mind you. Wood is not easy to come by nor transport. There wasn't no Home Depot door delivery service back then. Upon closer look at the staircase, the chapel curator realized not a single nail was used in its construction, yet it somehow was held up perfectly secure, measuring 20 feet high and making 2 full turns without any support from a central pole. He brings in over 120 spiral staircase experts to investigate it further, and not one of them could explain how this set of stairs was built. They described it as being physically impossible to create. Even stranger still, the exact wood used to build the staircase was confirmed to be a type of spruce which is not native to New Mexico and is also scientifically not identified anywhere else in the world. This is the mystery of the Loretto Chapel and its miraculous staircase, which still remains unexplained today. The sisters of the chapel believe that Saint Joseph, who was a carpenter, came and built those stairs himself, which also happened to have exactly 33 steps, commonly regarded to be the age of Christ at the time of his crucifixion. crucifixion.
Wow.
Take a look at Vader's breastplate. Darth Vader's breastplate displays distorted ancient Hebrew. The inscriptions are not random. They are intentional sorcery. Hollywood deliberately mimicked Hebrew to hide the message in plain sight. The first word, Ab, means father. The second corrupted word hints towards oppression or Metz. The next cluster implies rolling destruction or secret watching. The third line, ad, means eternity or witness. The final line, shalaka, means cast down or thrown away. When properly interpreted, the message reads, Father of destruction, cast down for eternity. This directly parallels Satan's biblical identity as the father of lies and the fallen ones known as Semyaza. John 8 verses 44 and Revelation 20 verses 10. Darth Vader's armor identifies him spiritually as the general of darkness. Ephesians 6 verses 12 once again describes principalities, powers, rulers of the darkness of this world, and spiritual wickedness in high places. He is literally armored in mockery, imitating the high priest's holy breastplate, but twisted into a satanic version aligned with the rulers of darkness described in Ephesians 6 verses 12.
I heard, Freemasons are obsessed with this movie. Is that true? Let me know in the comment.
A miracle is like extreme synchronicity. First of all, if you believe in miracles, you'll experience them. If you don't believe in miracles, you'll never experience it. It's the same thing with anything in physics. Whatever you don't believe in, you will not experience. So, it's like if you think you can or you think you can't, you'll be right. The world is not about believing, or seeing as believing. It's believing as seeing.
Ooh, believing as seeing.
There are three types of people. People that believe in miracles, those that don't believe in miracles, and those that and therefore never experience miracles, and those that understand and know that life itself is the miracle.
I believe in miracle, and if you believe God will provide, He will provide.
Believe in black magic, I would not recommend watching this documentary that came out recently. This documentary starts with a warning that says they are not responsible for any negative impacts that happen to you from watching this film. This filmmaker goes around the world asking people to put curses on him in order to discover if magic and black magic really exists. If you love documentaries, make sure to hit follow because I post daily and you'll always have something to watch. I love documentaries like this. This is giving dark tourist vibes. I really enjoyed this. He does get multiple curses put on him and in some really scary spaces like the jungles of India and in caves in Mexico. I don't want to tell you guys what happens to him and if these curses actually work, but you guys need to watch it because it is very interesting and really scary. And he also talks to scientists who work in this field to ask why, if magic doesn't exist, people experience these things when they're cursed. It does go to show that the human mind is more powerful than we might think. In what way that might is, I'll let you decide. Let me know what you guys think about this in the comments.
I think you should go to Thailand, Philippines, and Indonesia.
A Fredericksburg man discovers something inside his walls that has the scientific community stunned.
In Fredericksburg, Virginia, homeowner Tom Hargrove,
Whoa.
renovating his historic home for water damage in June 2025, broke into a wall and found crystalline shards he thought were just minerals.
I thought they was just crystals, so I took them to my buddy here at the college, and I still don't believe what they said they find.
Hargrove took the shards to the University of Mary Washington, where microscopes unveiled intricate city-like structures with nanoscale towers and grids.
We've found what look like entire
This is AI, folks.
model cities straight out of the 1950s, but they're microscopic.
Scientists speculate on the structures, but seem skeptical or concerned.
This design is far too small to have been made by humans. Honestly, we have no idea where it even came from.
As scientists plan deeper tests, the discovery reshapes ideas of history.
This shouldn't be possible. There's no known technology, no theory that explains any of this.
What do you think it was? A miniature civilization or a giant hoax? Let us know what you think in the comments below.
The backstory to the World's Fairs is ridiculous anyway. One of my favourites is Crystal Palace in London. That one's fantastic because the architect behind that won the contract by entering a competition. But 2 weeks after the competition winner was announced, he was on site building it. And they're incredible.
Supposedly there was 2 Crystal Palaces. And one of them, they built it for one of these fairs, and then they took it apart and rebuilt it somewhere else. And you're thinking, like, what kind of ridiculous story do they want us to believe? Because you don't have mass production of glass. Like, even if you did, these things are not standard glass panels. It's like obviously very unique to this building. So like, how could they produce this much glass in this short amount of time? And then again, you're talking about taking this apart. It's made of glass. So how much of it would have been broken in transportation and trying to carefully demolish this place? I think, was it one of them, there was like a full-grown tree in it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, they built around the tree, and it's nonsense. And you're quite right. I mean, you look at the logistics involved in the transportation of that glass today. I mean, how many trucks are we talking about there? What size factory would you need? The skill, how many glaziers do you need to do that? How long do you think that would take to build? And they've always got these sort of very short build times of a year, sometimes even less than that. But to
9
take
months.
down, and then we're talking horse and buggy again, or horse and cart, we're transporting all of that glass just a few miles up the road, and then we're going to build something almost identical. Where I'm sat with this is that they were both there. There
Incredible.
were palaces. There were crystal palaces in other countries. To actually destroy something like that, I just cannot believe that anybody out there would do that. And they did. And not just once. They all had these fires, didn't they? Or didn't
They've been lying to us all along.
Albert Pike was a Freemason Illuminati, and he predicted all of the wars. He predicted World War I, where he talked about the communists would overthrow the Russian government. And he predicted World War II, where they would destroy Germany, because Germany was against the Federal Reserve nonsense and all that stuff that they push. And then he said that the Third World War would be between pretty much Israel and Iran. And it's crazy because I just covered talking about how there's no such things as nuclear weapons. There's no such things as nukes. This was shown by Galen Windsor and Eric Dubay. They scare people into believing that they have weapons of mass destruction so that they can invade these countries to try to give them democracy and come in there and bring their banks inside that country. And so what happened was, after the whole 2001 situation that took place, they decided that they were going to invade 7 different countries, and Iran is the last one on the list. After Iran comes North Korea, because there are no banks, the Rothschild Rockefeller banks, in those 2 countries. So when we look at what's actually taking place with the whole invasions, and when they try to say we're going to war for these countries and whatever else, it's because they want to go in there, take the resources, and then they want to go in there and put in the banks, and then they want to go in there and destabilize the country so that they can take it over and invade it, and then control it, and then put a new system in there. And there's a great book on this for people to look into, The Secrets of the Federal Reserve by Eustace Mullins, which is one of the best for people to read and understand what is actually taking place on a regular basis. And this has been taking place for a very long period of time. So if people allow themselves to get pulled into these different events, they don't understand about what's actually taking place. So I just wanted to cover about that. So if you realize this, which a lot of people have, which I'm really thankful for, this social media is a very powerful tool for waking up the world. You see it all over YouTube, you see it all over Instagram, TikTok, all these different social media platforms, that people are waking up to the nonsense and they're just not participating, which is amazing. And the only people who are participating are those who are being paid to participate.
He never predicted. They planned.
What's going on with Joe Dispenza lately? Joe Dispenza is under fire lately, especially in Canada, Europe, Australia, some of those places, for his pseudoscientific claims, even causing him to shut down one of his retreats that he was running in Paris. And the reason that they had to shut down this progressive retreat is because Europe has much stricter rules when it comes to spiritual claims and pseudoscience, specifically when you're claiming that meditation can do things like cure cancer. So French authorities reviewed his material and saw enough pseudoscience that was damaging to the public that they were able to shut down his retreat altogether. In this French investigation, they decided that it violated French law to encourage patients to abandon medical care with claims like he could help paraplegics walk again. And France is particularly vigilant when it comes to unverified health claims. So the critique isn't like just in France. The tide is really turning on Joe Dispenza as more and more people talk about their experiences in these retreats. So if you go on Reddit, lots of people are saying things like he convinces vulnerable people who have no other hope to go to his workshops, which he charges a couple grand for. And it's dangerous because for some people this can bring on delusion or even psychosis, and then people will start blaming themselves for not being positive enough when this manifesting meditation doesn't work and doesn't transform their life the way that they were kind of sold that it would. And then people start asking, what are his actual qualifications for making these very big claims about things like neuroscience or consciousness or quantum physics? He has a doctorate in chiropractic. So where will Joe Dispenza continue to thrive? Mainly in America, and mainly 3 states: California, Arizona, and Florida. And the reason for that is that those 3 states in particular have a huge spirituality/wellness kind of market. And because the US does not monitor spirituality kind of health claims as much as other countries do, he has really free reign to be able to say whatever he wants to say, and he's going to continue to do well, mainly just in those 3 states. In the rest of the world, he's experiencing enough pushback that he's actually closing some of his retreats. So if you ask me if his work is causing more harm than good, because obviously there are some helpful meditation techniques that have helped people, but overall I would say his work is causing more harm than good. Because there's this dangerous loop that people are falling into with Joe Dispenza, which is that when their life doesn't like vastly improve, it's because they're not meditating hard enough or they're not believing hard enough, which creates this cycle of internal shame that's very hard to get out of. And we see that in religion, we see that in Christianity all the time, but he's doing it with all this new age science stuff, which makes it harder for the average person to see the loop that they're stuck in. And the other thing is concerning is just how many people he has at these retreats, and people are screaming, they're convulsing, they're having ego dissolutions in these really deep meditations without a lot of preparation or follow-up. And there's also a lot of people there who have trauma histories or mental health vulnerabilities, and there's not the kind of safeguards that you would need to make that be a positive experience for that many people, which is concerning for me. But I'd love to get your take if you've ever been to one of his retreats or if you've benefited from his work. Let me know in the comments.
Yeah, that's right. Let me know in the comment if this guy works.
Get this, North Korean scientists have discovered how to slow down the aging process so we can live twice as long, but it gets better. You won't believe how they found this out. It's amazing. I keep up to date with these scientific papers on Yandex. You won't find these on Google. They were trying to figure out how to stop your hair from going grey. So they took a chromosome from the cell of a clam, which has the longest lifespan of all organisms, and somehow bred it into a rat.
What?
Not only did the rat not go grey, he lived twice as long as any other rat in that experiment. And obviously this sent shockwaves through the scientific community. And they ran human trials last year, and the best part is these injections are going to be available for us to buy from as early as 2030. They're going to cost £10,000 for one injection, but surely it's worth it if it's going to add another 70, 80, potentially 100 years. You could potentially live for up to 200 years. What would you do with all that time? I'm just amazed.
The bank will do 200-year mortgages now.
They just found 60 missing children that were in Florida, y'all. Yes, I said 60. And the crazy part is where they found these children at. You wouldn't believe. They was not in no abandoned warehouse. They was not in the middle of nowhere. They were in regular homes, even motels. And some of the people that took them had them right in their homes. Right in their homes. Not a separate place, but in their home. Some of these joints was happening right next door. The operation was called Dragon Eye, and it is now being called one of the biggest child rescues in American history, y'all. So they said they used 20 different agencies, and it was over 100 police officers that went and found these children. by the grace of God. They wasn't just missing. These children were going through the big T word. The sad part is, they said ages range from 9 all the way up to 17. And they said when they got these kids, a lot of them was
Oh my
drugged,
goodness.
and a lot of them was being prepped to be drugged. And you already know what they was doing to these children, y'all. They said some of the people that they caught that was involved, you would look at them and not even realize that them the type of people that be doing it. Like they said, you can look at them and never in a million years think, oh, it was them type of people. And Florida even gave a message to the people that's doing this and that still have children right now. They said, Florida is not the place. You're doing this, we're going to find out, we're going to find you, we're going to hunt you down, we're going to get our children back, and you're going to be put under the jail. This is what's mind-boggling to me. If they can find 60 kids in one sweep, how many are still out there?
Lots,
How many
lots.
are just right next door, hidden in plain sight? That's what I want to know.
The more important question is, who are the buyers?
It's true, this is not just about Iran. This is repeated history and a pattern you're not supposed to see. A pattern of suppressing revolutionary, world-changing technology, and we've seen this happen over and over again. The most popular example would be the dynamic between JP Morgan and Nikola Tesla. See, JP Morgan was funding Tesla's research and development of the Wardenclyffe Tower, but as soon as Morgan realized that this technology was not going to make him richer or more powerful, in fact quite the opposite, he pulled the funding. Stanley Meyer built a car that ran on water, and as soon as he met with the investors, he suddenly died. They say it was of natural causes, but his brother said his last words were, "They poisoned me." And then there was Eugene Mallove, an MIT scientist who claimed that cold fusion, limitless power, was real. He was found beaten and unalived in his driveway in 2004. Wasn't robbed, no motive. So when I suggest that Iran may have developed something beyond nuclear, I'm not pulling that out of nowhere. This is not just some crazy theory. I'm recognizing patterns. I'm looking at the history. Every single time someone gets close to freeing people from the system of energy control that we currently live under, something happens. They disappear, they're unalived, or they're discredited. Or in this case, they become the global enemy. This is more than politics, this is more than religion, this is about control. And if those in power start to feel their grasp of control slipping through their hands, there's an intense response. Now, I can't confirm all of this. This is a theory, TikTok. I'm not saying that this is all factual. I'm simply pointing out patterns and encouraging people to take a look at this for themselves, come to their own conclusions and decide, what is this really about? Because it's really easy to say it's about oil, because that's what we've been told or what we've seen. But maybe it's more than that.
It's always about resources and power.
Check this out. Why is it that between 48 to 79, while the Shah was the king of Iran, there is no major war in the Middle East? As a person that was born in Iran, yes, I can't stand this regime. The only thing that's been persistent and consistent is the following. When the Shah was in Iran, did Israel already exist? Was Israel causing chaos? Let me say this one more time. The Shah of Iran, what years did he run Iran? 41 to 79. When did Israel become a nation?
48. Yeah.
Okay, so check this out. Why is it that between 48 to 79, why is it for 31 years there is no major war in the Middle East? So to the people that want to say it's all Israel's fault, how come there wasn't that in Iran for 31 years? I'm curious. Answer that question for me. Why has there been chaos in the Middle East in 79? Whose fault is that? So yeah, for me, the most consistent thing behind the chaos in the Middle East has been Iran. That's just the reality.
Bravo. Brilliant question. Let them answer.
Iran perceives this war as the opportunity to achieve really important national strategic goals. The first is to create national unity and to further legitimize the authority of the regime. As you know, because of sanctions and because of mismanagement, because of corruption, this regime in Iran is not very popular. But if the Americans are coming to invade and overthrow the regime and sow chaos and destruction, then the people are going to solidly unite behind the government, no matter what government it is. Also, the Iranians see this as the best opportunity in a long time to finally destroy the American presence in the Middle East by forcing the Americans into a quagmire that they cannot extricate themselves from. As we've discussed many times, supply issues in Iran will be a huge problem for the American military. They can get in, but it's going to be very hard for them to get out. And the third strategic national interest is to create global legitimacy by defeating the Americans, right? The Shia regime is trying to be the leaders of the global Muslim movement. And if they were to defeat the Americans in Iran, then they would become the de facto leaders of all Muslims in the world, surpassing Saudi Arabia. So those are the three major national strategic interests of Iran. And now the question then is, how would Iran force Americans to invade? What is their optimal strategy in this regard? Because remember, the Iranians, they're not going to be able to beat the Americans in a conventional war. They don't have the technology, they don't have the weapons, they don't have the financing that the Americans do. So they're going to have to trap the Americans in Iran, encircle them.
He also predicted, the fall of the U.S. empire in his Chinese lecture.
Imagine being a Chinese professor, posting your lectures online and not realizing that it's so accurate that people from the West are watching it to try and understand what's happening in their own country. You know how crazy that is, right? And he accurately described what was happening right now in real time. He talked about Trump being re-elected, and that happened. He talked about the fact that Trump will try and push for a war in Iran to try and free the Iranian people, or because Iran's trying to threaten its allies and threaten the world. He even talked about the fact that they were supposedly building a nuclear bomb and this is why they need to stop them. He also talked about the fact, and this is a year ago, that New York would be mentioned in one of the destinations that would be attacked to try and scare us. What did the president of Israel say? Today is Tel Aviv, tomorrow is New York. Cannot make this up. And the Chinese are just ahead when it comes to geopolitics. Let's be honest, we expected this from Jordan Peterson. Remember when people took him serious? But we're flocking to a Chinese professor to figure out what's happening in the West. It's actually insane. And by the way, he also talked about Iran winning. I recommend to check out his videos because it's insane.
Yeah. Go to YouTube.
Have you guys ever seen this old clip of Bob Dylan where he talks about who he had to serve to get famous? So take a look at this.
Why do you still do it? Why are you still out here?
Well, it goes back to the destiny thing. I made a bargain with it, a long time ago, and I'm holding up my hand.
What was your bargain?
To get where I am now.
Should I ask who you made the bargain with?
with the chief commander.
On this earth?
And this earth, and then in a world we can't see.
You ever look at music that you've written and look back at it and say, whoa, that surprised me?
I used to. I don't do that anymore. I don't know how I got to write those songs.
What do you mean you don't know how?
Well, those early songs were like almost magically written. Darkness at the break of noon, shadows even the silver spoon. Sit down and write something like that. There's a magic to that, and it's not Siegfried and Roy kind of magic. It's a different kind of a penetrating magic. And I did it. I did it at one time.
You don't think you can do it today? Does that disappoint you?
Well, you can't do something forever, and I did it once, and I can do other things now, but I can't do that.
It's not God. God gives you freely.
I think even the top celebrities recognize that talent, which is that extra special thing, is only probably gifted to them while they're working with them. When they get old and tired, those guys, the demonic world probably moves on to somebody else, and that energy split with somebody else. But that's a pretty fascinating clip right there.
And Prince Charles, before he became King Charles III, he said he was descended from Vlad the Impaler. which is who Dracula is based on, the vampire movies. And Dracula means son of a dragon, with the A on the end, and it's rooted in Draconta and Dracont, meaning a watcher in Greek. And that's just the tip of the iceberg, because Vlad the Impaler is your typical noble Celt, your noble giant. He's red-haired, he's hazel-eyed, pale-skinned, sensitive to light, educated at the mystery school in Austria, in Vienna, and he's of the bloodlines, and he takes his bloodlines back to a tribe produced by Hercules, the Egrathi, and another branch as well.
Yeah, I heard about this. They said they got rid of the house of David and replaced the royal family with the descendants of the Vlad Impaler.
Wonder who actually runs the show? There's a bloodline you were not taught in school. Not Roman, not British, Khazarian. A kingdom that vanished from the maps, but not from power. They mastered disguise, changed names, wore new religions like masks. While empires fell, they moved through banks, media, law, medicine. Control without crowns. Infiltration without invasion. This isn't theory, it's documented, and it's still playing out. The real history wasn't erased, it was buried, and we're digging it up. I'm working on a full breakdown in the classroom tab of my Community Veil division. If you want to join, the link's in the bottom.
John F. Kennedy spoke about them before they assassinate him. He wasn't lying.
This is going to change all of our lives forever. Listen to this. Chinese scientists have figured out a way to download you, us, into a hard drive. All your thoughts, memories and experiences, everything that you are and have ever thought about can be downloaded into a hard drive. I mean, it's massive. Look, it's the size of a fucking car. 1 million terabytes. They've created an interface that somehow talks to your brain. It takes 24 hours in this pod. You are in this pod to download. And the best part is China's largest tech company, Shaoxing, have got involved. And now you can buy what you've downloaded for £15,000. And they think that in the future, you're going to be able to upload this information to a donor. So that person then becomes you, or at least a version of you. And that basically that will have all your thoughts and memories but won't actually be you. So potentially you can be passed on, a version of you can be passed on to a donor, thus a version of you living forever. How fucking mad is that?
What about the soul?
The bartender slipped me a note. Don't leave with her. So she walked into this little bar I was in, and she walked in, you know, real smooth, like she was like a part of the band or something. Not too flashy, but just like present. Like when she walked into the room, the whole room just like stopped. Like you could just kind of feel a slight, you know, silence, undertone, like people knew she was there. So she kind of walked up to me and she ordered me a drink, you know, before I even introduced myself. And she said, you know, I like your energy, you know, so I'm like, okay.
I like your energy.
She told me my face looked like it told stories. So I kind of laughed it off, and I'm like, okay, you know, whatever that means. So then she reached and touched my birthmark, and she whispered, I like the broken parts.
What?
I mean, I don't know what that means. Like, I'm glad I got a free drink, and she looked good. So I'm like, okay, you know, that's cool. So we talking for like an hour, y'all. Like nothing deep, just like, you know, little flirting, low tones, you know, kind of vibes, you know, kind of conversation that make you forget where you parked.
Hey.
So then I got up to go order a second drink. So the bartender slid me a glass, but he slid me like a little napkin with the glass, but it was like kind of folded up. He ain't say nothing, he just kind of like nodded at me. I'm like, okay. So I unfolded it and I read it and it said, don't leave with her, you're not the first. I'm like, what? Not the first? I'm too faded for this. First of all, like, so I don't even know what you're talking about right now. So I'm like, okay, I guess. So I turned back and the bartender was gone. Like, not in the back, not serving anymore. Like, he was just gone. So I turned around to the table and she was gone too. And the drink was there though. And it's still like, you know, dripping, like sweating on the table. So this lady comes from the back, whatever. She asked me, like, okay. And I'm like, you know, I'm looking for my friend. And she was like, your friend, and we kind of going back and forth, and she was kind of looking at me like, she don't know what I'm talking about, so she was like, come look at this. She showed me the security camera, and I was sitting there by myself all night. So if anybody knows me, they knows I'm not, look, y'all, I don't know what's going on. I still got the little note. Well, I had the note after the fact. I'm like, well, where did this note come from? So I don't know if they was in cahoots together. I don't know. Let me know something in the comments, chat.
Never, ever, ever engage with a person who complements your energy. Ever. Man, look at them shoes. Oh my God. When I tell people about the Rat Shoe Club, all they do is laugh. They just do not believe.
This is why I keep saying, head on a swivel. Be aware of your surroundings when you're especially in large crowds, in large gatherings. There was a music festival in Paris, France. Over 145 people were targeted and pricked with syringes. You heard what I said. Over 145 people targeted and pricked with syringes. Most of the people that were targeted were teenage girls. The story is the people that were pricked with the syringes noticed a mark on their body. Then they started to feel ill. Now keep in mind, nobody knew what was in these syringes at the time they were used. And it's being reported that 12 out of the over 145 people that were pricked with syringes are being detained. Ask yourself that question. What are they being detained for? So please keep this in mind the next time you're looking to go out. There are a lot of crazy people out there that are looking to do harm and hurt others for no reason whatsoever. Mind you, there was over 1,000 people at this festival, and usually this may kick off a copycat. So please head on a swivel. Just be mindful, be careful. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, I'd love to hear from you.
I heard they poke him with the, HI.
China has unveiled its first robot security guard. The robot is called Anbot.
China has unveiled its first fully operational robot bodyguard, leaving the world stunned. With glowing eyes, advanced sensors, and AI trained to detect threats faster than any human, this machine is built to analyze, protect, and neutralize in real time, set to guard top officials, even the president. These robots don't sleep, hesitate, or miss. They're not just assistants, they're autonomous defense systems.
China's military has released this video of a four-legged robot marching through a field with an automatic rifle mounted on its back.
Some experts warn this could mark a turning point in AI warfare, raising urgent questions about the future of personal protection and the potential for something far more dangerous. Is this the future of personal protection or the start of something much darker? Because once these machines are deployed, there's no turning back. Let's dive into what China's new robot bodyguard means for the world, and why some experts are calling it the most dangerous innovation in modern AI warfare. China's AI bodyguard revolution. Advanced artificial intelligence now touches nearly every aspect of our daily lives, from the apps we use to the cars we drive. But the latest twist in AI's rapid evolution might be its most controversial yet: AI-powered humanoid bodyguards. And leading the charge in this unprecedented shift is China. Recent developments suggest that the Chinese government may soon deploy AI humanoid robots to protect its highest-ranking officials, including the president. It sounds like science fiction, but it might be closer than anyone thought. So why is everyone talking about robot bodyguards now? And what's China really planning? The clues are hiding in plain sight, and what they reveal is startling. While the Chinese government hasn't released any official confirmation about the integration of humanoid robots into its presidential security detail, the signs are becoming too strong to ignore. The buzz began to build in February 2025 when Wang Jingjing, the founder and CEO of Unitree Robotics, took a front row seat at one of the most exclusive business symposiums chaired by President Xi Jinping himself. This wasn't a random invitation. Xi rarely chairs such meetings directly, having only done so once before in 2018, and that alone made the gathering an anomaly. His presence signaled one thing: only the most influential and strategically important tech leaders in China had been invited. Wang sat among China's elite business minds, including Liang Wenfeng, co-founder of the AI giant DeepSeek, and Ren Zhengfei, the founder of Huawei. That lineup raised eyebrows, especially considering the competitive edge these companies have over their Western rivals in areas like artificial intelligence, telecommunications, and now robotics. It didn't take long before speculation ignited. Was Unitree preparing something massive behind closed doors? Was the future of presidential security about to be rewritten by machines? And if so, how soon will this new generation of mechanical protectors take their place on the front lines of Chinese leadership defense? The theory doesn't feel far-fetched. Unitree Robotics is already pushing boundaries with its humanoid robots. One of their standout creations, the G1, recently demonstrated something once thought impossible.
The rain is very heavy here in
Destruction of mankind.
Mexico City, in this marginalized area where, oh, another one is gone.
Another one is gone. That's AI, by the way. You can tell.
What the heck? Amazing. I've been here for 3 years. I never saw anything like that. Yo, Willie, you seen this? I've seen this. Oh my God. Oh my God. Someone here is a special soul, he says.
This is evacuation procedures. The animals know when the tragedy are coming before it happens.
If you are awake from the hours of 10 p.m. to 4 a.m., if you're awake for 2 hours between 10 p.m. and 4 a.m., for 2 days per week, for 25 days of the year, you qualify as a kind of card-carrying shift worker, and you likely have significant circadian disruption.
Which means that I have...
You are at risk for some of the, and it, it's not going to happen tomorrow, but if you continue on that pattern that I just described, you are putting yourself at increased risk for cancer and cardiovascular disease, metabolic dysfunction. You can have trouble having children. It impacts fertility, mental health, psychiatric disorders. There isn't a disease or disorder that circadian disruption doesn't touch.
So it looks like Diddy wasn't the only famous rapper that was hosting these freak-offs. His ex-girlfriend just spent 6 long days testifying, dropping some heavy details, and another famous rapper just got brought into the story. So this was Diddy's last girlfriend before he got arrested. She's a social media influencer, but she's testifying anonymously under the name Jane. The past 6 days she was talking about freak-offs and she was talking about getting beat, and she just wrapped up the last day on the stand. But she brought in a new twist that involved a very famous rapper. Jane testified that in January 2024, she was invited to a wild Las Vegas birthday party for this mystery rapper's girlfriend. She flew there on the rapper's private jet, so he has a private jet, along with a big group of people. The night started off with everyone attending a play, then moved to a fancy dinner, followed by a strip club, and finally an after party inside a hotel suite, and that's where things got wild. At the after party, Jane says that she witnessed one of the male escorts that she and Diddy used for their freak-offs. It was a man named Antoine, and he was getting intimate with another woman while the rapper, his girlfriend, and a small group of others just stood watching. She also testified that the rapper, who is close to Diddy both personally and professionally, pulled her aside during the night and said, "I've always had a crush on you," talking to Jane. In court, Jane confirmed that this rapper is an icon in the music industry, and after Diddy found out she attended this party, Jane says he became more furious and accused her of going to another man's freak-off, which triggered more fights between them. She also revealed that this rapper and his girlfriend were into a similar sexual lifestyle as Diddy, and even asked if she could connect them with more escorts like the one that she and Diddy used. During the trial, Diddy's lawyers tried to force Jane to say the name in court, but the judge ruled against it, saying exposing his identity would only be used to harass the witness. So for now, the name is sealed.
Jay-Z and Hugh Hefner did it all his life.
Israel and Iran are attacking each other. Is this the beginning of World War III, or is this the beginning of a prophecy that was prophesied 2,500 years ago? In Ezekiel chapter 38, the Bible names Persia, which is modern-day Iran, as part of a future alliance that will rise up to attack Israel. Now, they're not the only ones. They're part of a group that theologians believe to be modern-day Russia, Turkey, Libya, and Sudan. Their goal is to destroy Israel, but God steps in. The Bible talks about there being earthquakes, fire from heaven, and there is chaos among the invaders because God himself is fighting for Israel. So what's happening between Israel and Iran right now is not just breaking news, but it's very likely biblical prophecy which is unfolding right before our eyes. Jesus told us in Matthew 24 that when these things begin to happen, that we need to be ready. This message is not to scare you, but to tell you if your heart is not right with Jesus Christ, it's time to get it right and to make sure that you're not pitting yourself against the God of the universe and the God of Israel. If you're praying for the situation in the Middle East right now, type in the comments, "I'm praying," and follow for more updates.
Yeah, Jesus is coming soon, folks.
Humans used to sleep in a totally different way than we do now, but why did it change? For thousands of years, people all over the world slept in 2 shifts. Back then, folks went to sleep when the sun went down around 9 p.m. They then slept for about 3 hours and woke up naturally around midnight. They then did all kinds of activities, feeding animals, reading, praying, sewing, or simply staying in bed and chatting. After about an hour or so, they'd go back to sleep until dawn. And this 2-part sleep had been completely normal since antiquity, but things started to shift with the arrival of the Industrial Revolution. That's when artificial light like lamps became common, and it changed everything. Nights were no longer dark, so people started staying up later. However, they still had to wake up early for work. At the same time, society became obsessed with productivity. Uninterrupted sleep and early rising was seen as the right way to live, but waking up in the middle of the night was seen as lazy and self-indulgent. By the end of the 20th century, the idea of 2 sleeps had pretty much...
This is incredibly interesting. Why don't we go back to this kind of sleep?
So you blame the music for the violence?
All of it. And the music, listen, on a spiritual sense, I gotta tell you the truth. It's Dirk and their fault. It's the music. The music is what summons in the hood to kill. But a lot of people don't know this. You want to control the world, think frequency and vibration. And that vibration make people kill. So a lot of people don't know. Listen, let me tell you something. The same way it is, if you take a positive vibration and you push it through the hood, it'll open up your consciousness to where you start getting new information. So if they putting this negative information in the hood, all they gonna get and they cycle in their brain is murder, kill, murder, kill, murder, kill. And in return, they gonna murder and kill.
Well, what about the kids who grow up in the suburbs who listen to gangster music that aren't out there killing?
I don't think you understand what I just said, right? The brain itself is a...
Yeah, no, I get it.
Okay.
But the kids in the suburbs are hearing the same music.
No, you don't get me. I don't think you understand. They gonna kill too, right? The more you listen to it, it don't affect certain people, right? They don't live in an environment, so it don't get them as faster. But they go in the environment, they kill, right? It's like
this guy.
So it's the environment
mixed with the music.
Plus the music.
Mixed with the music.
Okay, so we can agree on something. There we go. I could with that.
Yeah.
Because Satan is the angel of music.